So I looked on X.com, formerly Twitter, and one of the people I follow mentioned, how the reveal of Mecha Sally still disturbs fans to this day, and also the fact that, well, basically, even though it started out as something they liked in story-wise, that it didn't have a real, conclusion, pre-SJW. Well, not SJ, but pre-SGW, excuse me. And from an official standpoint, that is true. There was no proper conclusion. The only tidbit we ever got was, of course, the fact that she and Amy Rose basically were given back their memories like all the other freedom fighters were via Nicole, who had absorbed some of the leftover Genesis, Super Genesis wave energy. So she was basically, as I mentioned back then, and still do to this day, did do Ex Machina. I do apologize for that notification you may have just heard. That's letting me know one of my videos is premiering that I just uploaded today. But anyway, that's basically the closest we ever got in the resolution standpoint. And then, of course, the little moment between her and Sally, between Nicole and Sally, in the following issue, where basically Sally wanted to make it her goal to make up for everything she did as Mecha Sally, but Nicole was there to basically let her know, hey, you're not going to pull this, you're not going to go there, that wasn't really you, or that was you, but that was another lifetime now, and that memory eventually is going to go away. Because one thing that was common in these stories is the fact that the memories, of the previous world were being overridden and altered to match the new timeline and the new histories and memories of the characters. But yeah, the closest we got was that moment. But it is a moment, though, that a lot of fans feel, as a resolution, didn't really, give them what they wanted. But that's where a lot of fan bases today come into play. Because when you look online, you will notice that there is a lot of fans in their own shape or form trying to do their own conclusions. You have Game Boy Sage in the Sly Encounter crossover between Archie Sonic and Sly Cooper, which also has Carmelita Fox in there as well. You also have Mobius Comics, who is trying to blend together, a conclusion, but also kind of, I guess, make it out to be the fact that Sally was still around. It's just that the Mecha Sally they dealt with was a, creation of Eggman's based on Sally herself, where he kept her prisoner or something like that. And then, of course, you have Archie Sonic Forever, which is trying to resolve that, trying to fill in the gaps that the comic itself officially never was really explained or kind of getting to, or at least hinted at, were solutions that could be told and everything. And then, of course, you have the ever-popular Archie Sonic Online, which essentially is, the main, if not the most popular, Sonic fan base, or Sonic fan comic base, if you will, for, continuations or, different takes or similar takes to what happened in Archie Sonic. Some of the books are set in the post-reboot, and some are in pre-reboot, and some, like the official main comic, are straight-up continuations of what would have been had the lawsuit not taken place. But yeah, the lawsuit basically is what caused the official resolution never to come to be. But according to Ian Flynn, it was going to basically have Sally, as shown off in, an early concept design at a New York Comic-Con a year or two before. It was going to have Sally basically get restored, but with the design and look that she would get, I should say, in the reboot. Because basically essentially that design was going to be hers, in the official continuity or the pre-reboot continuity after a certain issue. Now, he didn't give a clear, definitive answer as to what issue officially she would have been restored in, but all signs, in my opinion, I think anybody would agree, were pointing towards issue 250. And if that was the case, then hey, so be it. But then again, you also had the crossover come in all of a sudden, and the timing couldn't have been any worse. Or in some cases, from a legal standpoint, any more convenient. Because my assumption on that crossover was it was supposed to be just a one-shot deal, non-canon, but because of what was happening behind the scenes, and Ian Flynn, eventually him and his crew finding out what was going on, decided they were going to use it to basically rewrite the main Sonic comic to kind of get a fresh start, a fresh coat of paint, and remove what any legal situations could, come towards it. And that's basically what happened, if you will. What I believe and what was hinted at, in my opinion, to be just a, regular non-canon continuity or something like that. Basically, well, even if it was part of the continuity, more of a, rinse and repeat situation of what we've had before, this time with Mega Man involved. Basically, that, disrupted a lot of stuff and caused what I believe Ian Flynn wanted to do originally to have to be put on delay. But then, of course, like I said, you had the legal situation, which ironically was, an inconvenience, but also a convenience and an excuse for them to kind of say, hey, let's just rewrite the crossover and use the ending of it to reboot Sonic's world so that we bring the Freedom Fighters back. And, we can basically erase and remove anything legally that could come and harm us. But that's the thing, though, when you get down to it. The reboot, in my opinion, was probably never supposed to be, but due to the fact that they had to go through the legal they had to deal with this legal situation, it was an excuse that Ian Flynn and his crew saw as trying to basically, keep things kind of within the world, but reboot it to the point that, you still had the same characters, which is a new fresh coat of paint, game design-wise, or at least similar to what they would look like in the games. Fresh coat of paint, and basically, kind of keeping it connected somewhat just for a brief period to the original world. But, like I said earlier, unfortunately, because of that, we didn't get any real resolution except for what I mentioned. Nicole having what was left over as the Super Genesis wave within her, basically being the Deus Ex Machina, if you will, to basically restore the memories of the Freedom Fighters, and mostly Sally and Amy. Sally, in this case, of course, remembering what she had done, and then trying to make up for it until Nicole basically said, no, enough. That's not going to happen. So, yeah, officially, in the continuity, in the main continuity of the story, when it originally started at the end of 230 and then throughout, yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get no resolution, but I think all signs were pointing towards, issue 250 as being that resolution, which is why when you look at Archie Sonic or Archie Sonic Online, they basically have made sure that issue 250, 249, and 250 were the resolution. That was basically what they feel Ian Flynn was planning to give us. Now, in closing, would it have been nice to basically get some kind of official resolution, from this story in the official release of the comic? Yeah, it would have been nice. But again, you had the whole legal situation happening. Now, could have Archie Comics kind of fought that off a little bit and basically said, hey, let us finish this story we got going, that Ian Flynn has going right now, and then, reboot the comic? Kind of be like, hey, let's, make the crossover between Mega Man and Sonic, take place after Sally's restored, and then go from there, and then afterwards have the reboot of the world occur? Could they have done it that way? Absolutely. Absolutely. But because of the fact that, Mr. Penders was persistent in, wanting to basically get what he felt he was owed, then unfortunately, because of that, they had to basically do it the way they did. Now, did we get a good crossover out of it? Yeah, it was decent, there's no doubt. But again, I feel that maybe things would have gone differently had they been able just to try to push forward, or at least say, hey, give us some time, let us finish this one story, and then we'll do the crossover and we'll use that to reboot the world. I think if they would have done something like that, honestly, maybe folks wouldn't have been so perturbed about what happened. In my opinion, they would have been so upset about what happened, in my opinion, and still feel like even though fan comic publications like Archie Sonic Online, Mobius Comics, Archie Sonic Forever, and even Game Boy Sage are doing what they can to fill in the gaps or continue where the original story left off. Even though they know these fan comics are doing that, to kind of give somewhat of a satisfactory conclusion, they still feel like they were cheated from what was originally planned, despite whether or not they liked the story or they didn't. And believe me, I'm one of those people that publicly never liked the Mecha Sally arc. I never cared for it. I felt it was unnecessary. This was not the Sally we knew. This was not her. She wouldn't have been easily controlled, even roboticized. She was the kind of character that was presented as being very strong-willed, that even through robotization, she would fight it and probably succeed in getting her freedom back. And also, as I said before in the video, this was not one of her best ideas. You get what I'm saying? But anyway, though, in conclusion, like I said, fans are still going to feel a little cheated, but, at least they have their fellow fans to thank for trying to at least continue the series, in the story where they were, unfortunately cliffhanged. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. But those are just, my thoughts on the whole situation. A shout out to, I think it's at the real JT Thrum on X. He's the one that talked about this and everything. And, Archie Sonic Online's response on X, when he mentioned that, they did a cough kind of thing, between two asterisks. They did a cough, between two asterisks. And then they showed the cover for, I think it was a 249, and everything. Like, excuse us, we did this, But again, I think where he was coming from was, as I mentioned here, is we didn't get it officially. Like, I'm sure he's aware of, hey, Archie Sonic Online and others are trying to were doing what they could to conclude it, but we never got an official release, and that's disappointing. But anyway, though, guys, that's just my thoughts on the whole situation. Let me know what you feel down below. Comment. Give me like I said, let me know what you feel like down below. Trying to find the right words to say here. Let me know how you feel about what I had to say here down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notification. Also, check out my Teespring store. Link will be in the description at the bottom. Check that out for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Get yourself a long sleeve shirt in time for fall. Also, get yourself a mug, a mouse pad, you name it. Whatever you like, hopefully it will be there for you to look into. Also, check out the other places where you can find my content. Check me out at rumble.com and at rumble.com at BW Rosas. Check me out at divanart.com at BVW1979. These are two places that, as I said in one video, you can find my content, due to the fact that some of it that you will find there can't be really shown here on YouTube. I mean, it could be, but it would be very limited and, availability, it would be very limited in its, ad revenue, and potentially could be restricted. And I don't want to risk it, especially with YouTube policies and all that. So basically go to rumble.com at BWRosas and divanart.com at BVW1979. Check out the stuff there. Also, ladies and gentlemen, check me out at odyssey.com and VENMO.com, both at BW Rosas. Also, go onto your favorite podcast affiliates. Either it's Pandora, Spotify for podcasters, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Radio Public, you name it. And, check out my podcast channel there, my podcast show. I talk about a variety of stuff, either in long-term podcast, video, audio-wise, or short-term. Check them out. I think you'll enjoy what you see there. But until next time, guys, like I said, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe. And until then, talk to y'all later.